ready.
Well, we were back hanging out with the travel photographer Justin Self. Thanks for coming to hang out, man.
So is all this stuff just like stuff you like, all the nostalgia? Is it just from like stuff? Let me turn my phone on silent.
Oh, you're good.
A lot of it is that we pulled out of our parents' attic.
That's awesome, because like the Game Boy,
But man, it went through so many different revisions of like, what are we gonna do? To where we were just driving through thrift stores. It's like,
Yeah,
we
that's
should
where we
buy
got all
this
the
and
VHS
this.
tapes.
that's where you got those.
Yeah, we just went to a thrift store and they were like 50 cents each or something.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
So we just picked out all our favorites. And we were like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've got like this vintage TV over there. And so another gimmick we were going to have is like hook it up and just have like old movies playing in the background.
Dude, that'd be so awesome.
But I just need because it's kind of big, heavy TV.
Oh yeah, those things it's crazy. Like that thing right there is probably like what, 13 inches,
Yeah.
and it weighs more than like a 65-inch TV.
Yeah. And they're expensive. Like my boss gave me that one because he was getting rid of it. And I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But like you get on like eBay and try to just find like an old like TV.
Yeah.
Like, people want like $300 for
yeah.
them. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's like
For like playing old video games on them. And
Yeah.
stuff.
There's a guy that comes into my work that does like picks up the money and stuff, Brinks.
Okay.
And he's always telling me like about old video games that he'll, he modifies, and he talks about old TVs like that. So it's just crazy. Like we'll have like a 10-minute conversation of just like, things that he's done in like the last few months. It's awesome.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for showing us your van. Looks
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Looks like you've done a ton of work on it. And
Yeah, I've got it November 3 years ago, 17. And at first, like every off day, I was just out there, 5 or 6 hours just working on it. And I've been very thankful that my dad has spent, just about as much time as I have out there. He's the the one behind, like all the thoughts and stuff. Like I'll come up with the ideas, and he's the one that actually puts it, to the van. And he's I cut my thumb off. He cut my thumb off. So like he's like, I'll use all the saws and everything. You just put it
tell
in
me where
there.
to cut it.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and we still joke about it though. Like I'll be sitting there. He's like, "Yeah, you want to come hold this piece of wood while I cut it?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good."
Dude.
No
Well, we
thanks.
go way back, man. I've known you since, golly, middle school
Yep.
or whatever. And so I do remember coming to school and one of our friends came up to me. He's like, dude, did you hear about Justin? I was like, no, is he okay? And they were like, dude, I think he lost his hand. It was just like rumors floating around
Yeah.
and
So it
stuff.
probably started with one finger.
It's like, dude, I think he had his whole arm cut off or some tragic accident. I was like, oh my God. And then obviously it was just like, the tip of your thumb or something.
Yeah. So it cut, from knuckle to thumbnail at an angle. Like it cut my hand here too. So I'm lucky that I still have my hand.
So what happened exactly?
So we were laying hardwood floor, and
Okay.
my dad's the type of guy.
He's actually gonna pass out.
My dad's the kind of guy that he does everything himself, and he's like super. It's funny that you got something back there that says thumbs on it.
Staring you down.
Yeah, it's like right.
Oh yeah. It's like a comic cutout. Yeah.
But he likes to do everything himself, and I grew up just helping him left and right with pretty much everything. And we were laying hardwood floor, and we were probably like 2 feet from the end of the room, and I'm like, we're almost done. He's like, or I said, going around that vent was gonna be kind of tough. He's like, nah, it'll be okay. We're almost done. I was like, all right. And we did the same kind of cut the day before to go around the door frame, and like if the piece of wood's here, we cut down, over, and back up. So there's a little bit of piece of wood on each end, and then, it don't go all the way through. So it's just down, over, and up. And the day before, I guess the wood was just a little bit longer. So this time I was holding it, and he was using a circular saw, which is kind of dumb.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and he's
sweating
cutting it,
right
and
now.
I'm like, this is going to cut my hand. Next thing I know, it just pulls, and then it just, I didn't even know it, so like after it happened, I don't cuss around my parents or anything, but after it happened, I was like saying the F word like left and right, and then
dude, yeah, you just go into shock, I would think.
yeah, and then so he's like flipping out too, and then like maybe 2 or 3 minutes later, we're like, let's just go to the hospital. So he goes upstairs to get a towel or a rag or something just to put over it, because we're just gonna drive. And I get up the stairs, I'm looking down where it cut my hand, and then I look down at my thumb, I'm like, it cut half my thumb off. So like I didn't even know at first. It was probably a few minutes later, and I was like, half my thumb's gone, and it had like skin hanging down.
Okay.
All right.
Oh my
Y'all's
god.
reactions are just as good.
I am
And,
a little squeamish. I'll admit it.
So, and we went to Bessemer Medical West, which probably wasn't the best. That was just the closest, to the good old PG. So we drove over there, and the thing I was worried the most about was like, please don't start cleaning my hand when I'm awake.
Just put me under, man.
Yeah, when you get water on something and it burns, I'm like, this is really gonna hurt. So I was like, please don't start cleaning my hand when I'm awake. But they didn't. And then so we get there, and it's funny because like it cut from knuckle to thumbnail, so there's just a little bit. And I get there, and they're like, do you have the tip? And my dad's like, no. So he has to go back home after dropping me off and getting me all paperwork and stuff, and then he goes back and he cannot find this thing for nothing. And
He's looking for
like,
a thumb.
He's like, I swear to God, this dog ate it.
Oh god.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
dude.
but they found it and they brought it up there, and they really couldn't attach it because of the angle, and then the blade on the saw is like 1/8 of an inch thick. So
you'd been missing like
yeah, it
what
was
chewed up.
completely disintegrated. 1/8 of an
Dang.
inch.
Now, how old were you when this happened?
I was 18. We're still in high school.
So we were in
Senior
high
year.
school.
Senior
Okay,
year.
okay.
Yeah,
I was
and
thinking it was earlier.
It was spring break. So like, and like the 2 spring breaks before that, like one I had knee surgery, one I had my wisdom teeth taken out. So I was like on a bad streak with spring break. So I'm like, dang, what's gonna happen next spring break? Am I gonna die?
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. So they couldn't reattach it because, like I said, the angle and then the blade. But so they just took out what was left of that upper joint just a little bit, and then they graft skin off the tip that came off, and that's pretty much it.
But I guess you're good. You don't
Yeah,
really
I'm
need that.
fine, man. The
Who
only thing
needs who needs that much of
The
your
only thing
thumb?
I can't
man?
do is text with both thumbs, so I use this finger. But I mean, really, that's all I came across that I can't do.
Yeah.
It's fine. Everything else.
I vividly remember that. I think I asked you. I was like, "Are you mad at your dad?" And you were like, "No, I'm not mad at my dad. It was an
Yeah.
accident." So
Yeah, so that's one reason, because after spring break we started economics, and remember Coach Ford, I think was his name.
Coach Ford.
We did like 12 weeks of, or a semester, half a semester of.
Was that the
history.
soccer coach?
I think he was basket. I don't know. I can't
Coach
remember.
Ford.
man.
Anyways.
Yeah. No, not Coach. Well, there's 2 Coach Fords. There was an older Coach Ford, and there was a newer one that had he was a younger guy that, always yelling at the kids and stuff.
Okay.
I don't remember, man. We have to look it up.
Man,
but
yeah,
anyway,
I
I
mean-
missed that first week of economics. And economics, you have to, whatever you learn in the next week
It
builds
builds.
upon that.
Oh, yeah,
So I missed that week, and then the following Friday, every Friday was a test. So the first 3 Fridays, I had to go to a checkup for my thumb, and then I just ended up. That's when I was like, I'm just not going to go to school. So I didn't go for a whole week. And my dad was like, he came home. I don't know why he came home one day, and he's like, "What are you doing home?" I'm like, "I just didn't feel good today." And he's like, "When's the last time you went to school?" I was like, "A week ago." And because I ended up dropping out my senior year.
Really?
Yeah, and I needed 1.5 credits. I mean, I was kind of stupid. It was the second 9 weeks of the second
Oh,
semester.
dude, I didn't know that
So
at
I
all,
didn't
man.
walk or
You
anything.
didn't walk with
I
us?
was there, I watched it, but I didn't actually walk. So I just needed 1.5 credits. So I went to summer school, which was actually one of the funnest summers of my life because my friend Jake was there with me because he had missed a lot of days too, and you'd have to get up super early. But by the time you get off at 12, I mean everybody's that's when people are waking up doing stuff. So
You're already up and out.
yeah, and then I needed a half credit, so I took a distance learning class from the University of Alabama. Got my half credit, and I just got my diploma over the summer.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. So then, obviously, we've been friends a long time. You've always been messing around with cameras and doing stuff. When was the transition? It seemed like overnight, your social media just blew up with all these awesome pictures and photographs and stuff you started taking. I was like, when did you get a DSLR? I thought he was just doing video stuff.
Yeah.
And
So my very first camera, it started off when I was really young. My dad was always recording us doing whatever when we were kids, or taking our photos because he had an old 35 millimeter Canon, and that's where Canon started with me because I was like, he has a Canon, so I need to get a Canon. So I would just like sneak his camera out. And at this time I was like 14 or 15 and my brother was 16. So I would record like street races or backyard wrestling matches. I wasn't really ever big into wrestling, but I had some friends that were. So we would go over there.
It's like pre-Jackass stuff.
Yeah, like he actually lived next to Erickson. You know where Erickson lived?
Oh
It was his
yeah,
next
yeah.
door neighbor.
I was
So
over there all the time.
we would go over there and just record like backyard wrestling stuff. And
I
then
feel like you used to do the same thing.
I think we all did. And it's like
Yeah.
it's like that was around. It was just that generation. You know, it was just like, dude, I'm not talented, but I have a camera and I'm gonna film something. I'm just gonna jump off my house.
Yeah.
You know, or throw a bottle rocket in the pool or something. You know,
yeah,
just
something crazy. So then I was like, my dad would get mad at me for like sneaking it out. So I had to get my own camera. So they got me one for Christmas. It was like a cheap Samsung and it didn't, wasn't worth the flip. And then I had seen, I don't know if y'all remember, I know you remember E-Bombs World because I remember we were trying to get,
that was like the dawn of like internet
Yes.
video. At least for me, it was, or for
So
everybody. It's
there was
pre-YouTube.
Yeah, there was this guy on there named Frederick Fox. I don't know if y'all remember
Yes,
him. Yeah, so like rumor, like we always watched this video, and the rumor was like that he worked at Panera Bread on 280, and we're like, no, he don't. There's no
It's
way
like this
he's.
internet. Do you remember Fred Fox?
no.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
He
was
would
like-
just like sit in front of his computer and like.
I've got to show you
Yeah,
a Fred
he's-
Fox video.
he's
Oh
got
my
some
god,
funny
it's
stuff.
still funny to this day.
but
It's
We-
just like him in front of his camera. I'm shut up.
yeah, it was really like he came out with some funny stuff. So like we always watched him, and then he started working at Panera. So we went up there and like stalked him one day, and he ended up being there. So like me and Spencer and Jake and Blake all started working there, but he didn't work there long after we did. But anyway, we worked there, and he
So you got jobs just because he was working.
Yeah.
there. Like where you
pretty much. But we didn't work with him much. But anyway, he had a Canon XL2, and I was like, man, this is a pretty sweet camera. It looks, just like a movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when I started wanting one. And of course, like back then it was $3,200. So I was like, I don't have that kind of money. So my dad co-signed a loan. We got that. So I ended up getting the camera and just paid it off. And that was the first camera I had where I could like plug it into a computer and open up, back then I was using Sony Vegas. So I could open up Vegas and just put stuff together instead of hitting record on the camera and then record on a VHS.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I
So-
know it all too well.
That's when video thing started. And then, that was right before HD was a thing. So like I remember having that, and then I had a friend that got like a Canon Rebel that recorded video. I'm like, man, this video on this little $800 camera is way better than my camera that it's $3,000. So I ended up getting, this was after you got your 7D, because remember you got your 7D, and I was like, man, that thing takes some good video and it takes good photos. So that's when I picked up the 7D. I mean, I'd already had like a Canon Rebel before this, but it just did photos. And one of the main reasons I got my DSLR was because Nick Willis, he was on here a few episodes ago. He would always take these photos and like light paint.
Yeah, he was really into photography
Yeah.
for a while
He
there.
was, and he was
Yeah.
one of the main reasons that I got that camera, because like, man, Nick takes some pretty cool photos of these lights. Like, I want to do that. So I ended up getting the old Rebel and doing that. But then I was like, well, the 7D does video and photo, so I got one of those, and I had that for a while. And then I was kind of in and out of photography, and then my friend Jake wanted to borrow it to take some photos, and he used it on the sideline at Auburn for a while. And then he ended up getting a 5D Mark III, and for years he had always told me to upgrade to the 5D because he had always talked to people about how good it was and stuff. And I was like, I'm fine with what I got. I don't use it that much. But then we went to Sloss one night, and I used it to take like 2 photos, and I was like, I gotta have this camera. And we were supposed to do like a wedding together like in a couple weeks, so I like drove down to Montgomery, like the only Best Buy in the state that had one. I went and bought it and drove back like the Friday before the wedding.
So y'all photographed a wedding? Or
Yeah,
video?
well, I did some video and photos, and he did
Okay,
photos.
cool.
Yeah, this was years ago. And then from that point on, I mean, it was like I'd always been into photography and like had a couple lenses, but after that, it was just like that's where all my money
This
went.
is awesome, man.
Yeah.
Such a cool hobby. Yeah.
And then one day, Jake was staying. He had like business in Vegas. He's like, "Hey man, if you want to come to Vegas," he's like, "You got a free place to stay. You can do whatever." I was like, "Yeah." So me and another friend went out there, and we went to like the Grand Canyon. We went to Red Rocks, Valley of Fire.
Did y'all fly out or did you drive?
Yeah, we flew out there.
Okay.
And we rented a car for like super cheap, and we just went to all these places, and I was like, man, this is like the contrast is just so different compared to Alabama, the desert. So a few months later, I was planning another trip, and I wanted some friends to go, and I planned it like I kept saying I didn't want to go, I want to go, and I kept changing my mind. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna buy a plane ticket and go. And I bought it like a month before, and I started asking my friends that were into the photography, like, hey, do you want to go? Do you want to go? And they're like, man, this is a month away, I can't go. So I was like, man, I'm gonna have to go by myself. This is really gonna suck.
And where was it you were going?
I just was going back to Vegas and
just back to Vegas.
Yeah,
okay.
Planned like a trip through like some of Utah and Arizona, and like I had no idea. Like I'd never been to any of the places I was going, but I knew I wanted to go. And so when I actually flew out there, rented my car, and I was like, man, I'm by myself. This is actually cool. I can listen to what music I want to. I can sleep in my car if I want to. I can wake up as early as I want to, stay up as late as I want to. And that trip was just like life changing. Like I came back home, I'm like, I'm planning another trip. I don't care where I go, I'm going to go somewhere. And just from that point forward, I guess that was in like 2015 or 16. I was just like, man, it's a different lifestyle out, especially just in the West. Because like I remember specifically going to this place to eat, and I was by myself, so I'm just sitting there, and there was a dude at the bar and a girl. The dude was running the bar, and the girl was sitting there, and he's like, so where are you staying at night? And she's just like, I don't know, wherever I pull over. And I was like, that's really cool. So that's kind of like when I first learned about like the vans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just like, it's not big over here. It's just not. So like going out there and just seeing that kind of lifestyle, I was like, man, this kind of fits perfectly with photography. So I can't remember where I went next, or in what order I've went to what places, but just anytime I get a vacation from work, I'm going somewhere. Even through COVID, I'm like, I'm still going somewhere. I'll find something that's open. And it's actually more safe, going out there. You land in a big city and you're there getting supplies or whatever, because I always travel with like a soft-sided Yeti cooler, so I'll like put lunch meat and cheese in there, yogurt, fruits or whatever I want to eat, sandwich meat and stuff, and then I'll just like go in the middle of nowhere. So I'm like actually around no people, and it's just it's a lot better than being in a city.
Dude, that's so awesome, because man, I'll be surfing your Instagram and it's just like the most insane photos, and it seems like you're on Mars in some of these pictures.
Yeah, some of them, like out west, it's
just so wild, like some of these pictures. I think you look somewhere here. I don't know, it's just crazy, dude. Like, how do you get some of these photos? It seems like it'd be a ton of work, what I mean? Like to get like the
nightscapes.
Shot,
the nightscapes are my favorite. I think you can take somebody that's been doing photography for a long time and stick them out in the middle of the night with a tripod and like take a photo, and they won't really know what to do. Like, I mean, it nothing against people that shoot weddings, but like, that's just like.
Well, that was me, man. When we did our Zion trip,
Yeah.
like I think I messaged you. I was like, okay, how do I get cool pictures? Because I don't know.
I mean,
what to do. Like, look at with the truck, like that yellow truck, the middle one right there. Pull that one up.
So this was this is what I call like extreme light painting. Like, I was always into taking night photos and using lights to light up a scene, but so this is when I found out that they have these Lume Cube lights that you can buy, and they make mounts for drones.
Okay.
So you can mount the lights.
So that's a
on.
drone that you're getting that shot with.
Yeah. So this was before I really knew how to fly a circle, but you can program it at night to fly circles and stuff.
I'm sure you can do all kinds of stuff now.
Yeah. So I just.
Now, where is this?
This is in Colorado. It's right outside of Great Sand Dunes National Park. So I knew that I had these lights on my drone, and I wanted to find a subject to take a photo of. So I was just driving, and there's like a long straight road going to the sand dunes, and I remember seeing this truck. So I was like, I'm just gonna mark that on my map, because if you're riding around at night, you ain't gonna see nothing like that.
Right.
So I marked it on my map, and then later that night I went back there, and I was by myself on this trip as well, and it was like there's an old trailer out there and just a bunch of stuff. I'm like, really hope nobody lives here. So it was I was super scared. So I like took a few shots and just got the heck out of there.
I was going to ask, a lot of these trips, are these solo trips, or do you have like a group of photographers that like you travel with?
Yeah, I have a group of photographers that I'll go places with, and I don't really do much video anymore, because I have a friend named Alex that does video, and my friend Trey is starting to do more video, and they're very good at it. And I was just like, I'll just stick to doing photos. So I don't really do much video anymore. But a lot of times I'll go with them, but there's some times where they just can't, they're not able to go because of work or other obligations. So I'll just end up going by myself. Like that trip to Colorado was pretty last minute, so I just ended up going by myself. And
was that a van trip, or did you fly out there?
No, that was a trip where I flew. I flew into Denver, and I went to the Rocky Mountain National Park, and
You're just solo. You're just like, man, I'm getting out of here. And,
Yeah, I've been on a few. Like earlier this year, I went to flew to Vegas, and I drove to let's see, I went to Death Valley, and then I went to, there's a place out there called Alabama Hills. It's in California as well. It's right outside of it's right on the other side of the Sierras from like Yosemite and Sequoia, so it's kind of like a desert vibe as well. But you can drive up, you know, the mountain, and that's where people hike to Mount Whitney, which is the tallest mountain in the contiguous U.S. So that's like where the portal is to that. So you got Alabama Hills right there. Then I drove up to let's see, I went through Yosemite. This was back when COVID was still a little bit, so like they were only letting people in with reservations. So I was able to say like I'm there visiting a friend, and they let me in. But on the thing they gave me, they're like, your friend's name, his address. He has this
just making all this up.
I'm like, dang it.
I don't even know what the zip code is around here.
This is some dude I messaged on Instagram that works there. So like, I was like, man, I don't know if they're gonna like kick me out. So, but I ended up leaving at like after 11, so there wasn't anybody at the gate to check it.
Okay.
This was back when the comet was still in the sky, so there was a lot of people out,
Right.
from 11 to 12, just viewing that.
So when you plan these trips, is it based around different like photo spots, or is it I want to go hike this, and if I get a cool shot, cool?
It's mainly photo spots, but
Okay.
you know, I enjoy the hiking too.
Okay. So what kind of goes into that of like, because for me, I wouldn't know. You
Yeah,
just
man,
go
like-
to California and hope you find
Like,
something.
how do you find, like, oh, this is a picturesque place to take a photo?
Right.
or
So,
something?
I mean, it's kind of sad to say, but you see a lot of stuff on Instagram or, you know, social
Yeah.
media, and you're like, this is a cool spot. Let's pinpoint on the map and, you know, go there. And then the main thing for me is national parks. Like, hopefully one day I'll be able to, you know, visit all of them. And then one day, hopefully I'll be able to drive my van to all of them, which would be, I mean, you can't go to some, you know, that are in Hawaii. I can't get my van out there.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But, that's the plan one day, to just, you know, step foot in every national park that's in the United States. And I can't ever remember the number there are, but I've been to like 25 of them. So that's what it first started off, was like, I'll just go to these national parks, and there's always, you know, picturesque places, you know, hundreds of them inside of a national park. But so usually when I'll plan a trip, I'll be like, what national parks can I go to? And then, you know, we'll just go from there, like find stuff in between. Like the very first time I went on that trip to Vegas, like I didn't know where the sun set here. You can download apps that'll tell you, but I didn't know like where the sun set, where, you know, this was, and what the moon cycle was. So like now when I plan a trip, it's like I want to go when
based on the moon phases and stuff. Yeah.
And it's funny, I was telling my manager at work, she's like, hey, we want to move your vacation up a week. This was like earlier this year. I'm like, well, I planned it around the moon cycle. She's like, what are you talking about?
What's this
So-
nonsense?
Yeah, so I was like, well, it's for
insane.
photography, so, you know, if the moon's out, you can't really see the Milky Way as good and photograph it. So
Yeah.
I would have never thought to do that. type of
So much
research.
work goes into this.
Right.
You
I
just
think-
take it for granted.
I think
you know
I was
me?
telling you, like, you were asking me about doing photos. I'm like, well, it also depends on the moon cycle.
Exactly.
But it
yeah.
also, the moon can be like, you know, you can go out and it rises and it sets at a certain time of the day and night, just like the sun, but it always changes. Like, there's so much that goes into
getting
that.
the perfect shot of the
Yeah.
moon right over the top of the mountain.
So what about the
you know?
eclipse that we just had? Did you take photos of that?
Yeah, so we drove up to, I think it was Spring City in Tennessee. It's just
Okay.
this little town in the middle of nowhere. It was right in the middle of totality. So I found it on the map. I was like, let's go here. It's a city, so we could maybe stay somewhere close to it. And then, but when we got there, like, there was so many people there, like, you couldn't use like, there was no cell phone service just because there's not that many.
Swapping the
Yeah.
towers. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but it was really cool. Like, definitely one of the coolest things that I've ever seen.
Yeah, we were in Nashville. Or,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to Nashville.
Yeah, that
And,
was in
there was like a
totality, wasn't it?
million people.
Oh, yeah, I bet there was a lot of people.
But I had like my cell phone and like a GoPro, like
Oh yeah.
not
no,
there
no.
for photos.
Well, our friend Alex went, and he had his camera, and he didn't really go to take pictures. And then at the last minute, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to take a photo." And he got some of that film.
Yeah.
Or he used like
The
maybe
glasses.
glasses that we
Yeah.
had
Oh, okay,
to put
yeah.
on his lens, so he was able to shoot at the sun.
Yeah,
And he actually got some amazing photos.
yeah.
But just being there to experience it was just like some of the coolest thing. And like he had researched everything and had hyped it up. And he was like, "Dude, we have to go see this. It's like one of the coolest events we're gonna see." You know,
Yeah,
in
you
our
don't just
lifetime."
miss out. Nah, I'm not. I'll catch it.
Especially
next
with it being that close.
Yeah,
you
for
know,
real. I mean, it was
like,
going.
right
It
there.
came like through the entirety of the U.S., so it really don't
Yeah.
happen that often. The one after that was in Patagonia, so I was like, I always want to go to Patagonia, and there's an eclipse down there, so let's go. But I didn't end up going. I thought that would have been like one of the coolest things to be in a place like that,
Yeah.
of that magnitude. And then there's an an eclipse there. And I don't know how it changes, but like totality here was what, like a little under 3 minutes. Do y'all
It was
remember?
pretty quick.
Yeah.
It was.
But down there,
yeah,
somewhere, I don't know why. I guess maybe it's because it's closer to the equator. I don't really know. But totality was like almost 5 minutes, so it changes.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what goes into play for all that, but it changes, somehow.
that's cool, man. So when you're going on these epic trips, and like I think one of the trips, I was surfing through your photos before you got here, and I remember when you went out to Iceland.
Yeah,
Which was like that sounds so cool, and
yeah.
it sounds like a pretty epic trip. I mean, what all went into planning that? Have you ever
So
been
like,
to Iceland before? Or are you
No,
just like,
so, like-
man, this picturesque. Let's go to Iceland.
yeah, it's kind of exploding now. Like this, there's a lot of tourists out there, and that plays a part into why I wanted to go. But I remember, like growing up, watching Mighty Ducks, like they play Iceland. I'm like, where the heck is Iceland at? So that was, I had Iceland in my head from that. But then like, growing up, I'd always watch these CKY videos, which later turned into Jackass. But they went to Iceland, and I was like, man, this place looks really cool.
Doesn't
Like,
Santa Claus live in
like,
Iceland?
picture of these horses, man. Look at this. This is like
Yeah.
insane. Like you just stumble upon this. I
yeah,
mean,
so we were just driving down the road, and I was like, I always saw pictures of horses from out there.
that looks like something out of a magazine. That's
Yeah.
insane. It's just like, oh, this is just every day. That's stupid.
Like
horses.
Levi's or something.
Or that beach photo. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's
that's
insane.
Black Sand Beach. That was a really cool spot.
Dude, this is like something on National Geographic. So
But it's
cool.
like, so we went out there in the middle of summer, and they're far enough north to get midnight sun. So like, I remember looking on my phone because definitely wanted to take Astro out there. That's like I said, that's my favorite. So I was like, I want to get out there, and I said the sun will set at this time and it rises at this time. So it's got to be dark for at least 2 hours. And I get out there, and it's like the solstice, which is the longest day of the year, was like when we were out there. So the sun will go down, and the horizon's here, and it just rides the horizon. So you get like a 2 or 3 hour sunset, which is really cool. But at the same time, you're like, man, I wanted to shoot Astro. But it was regardless, it was like one of the most epic trips I've ever had. But the way we would do it, so like some of these spots, like the most popular waterfall or the most popular canyon or something, there you'll be there in the middle of the day, and there's like hundreds of people.
Really?
So
Okay.
like what we found out was like we'll just kind of sleep during the day, and then go at 3 a.m. when it's still daylight and there's nobody there. So like I think it's called Skogafoss is how you say it. It's the most popular waterfall there. It's right on the southern road, not far from Reykjavik, which is the main city that people hang out around. And we went at 3 a.m. and there's like nobody there.
But it's still like full daylight.
Yeah,
and
it was still daylight.
Dude, that's crazy.
I think-
Jet lag though. It
Yeah.
seemed like did it kind of screw
Well-
your system up a little bit, or
I mean,
I guess you just get
you
used
think
to
it would, but when we got there, we're just like, let's go, man.
You're
This is-
so amped.
so
yeah,
amped
we were
up.
so
Yeah.
we were so ready to go, man. Like we drove from Birmingham to Nashville, and that's where we flew out of. So we woke up in Nashville at 7 a.m. and we flew to Boston and had like a 5-hour layover, and we had no idea where we wanted to go. So we planned our trip in Boston on that 5-hour layover. Like that's where we kind of routed out where we were going to go.
Okay.
And it's so hard to like pronounce all the names out there. So like, on
Well,
our-
just the two names you just dropped. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. I
Yeah.
couldn't even repeat it if you.
like there's a waterfall with like a mountain in the background. I think it's been on Game of Thrones, but it's like Kirkjafell or something. So we just like in the Google when we're planning our trip, we're like Captain Kirk is the name of that. So we were just coming up with these like off the wall names.
Stuff you'd remember. Yeah.
Yeah, like there was one that sounded like hamburger, so we named it like Hamburger Falls on our maps. Like if somebody's like, "Have you ever been to this one out there?" I'm like, maybe, but I don't. We call it this.
Oh yeah, French Fry River. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been there. Yeah.
It was funny. So we planned our trip on that 5-hour layover in Boston. Like before that, like I said, we had no idea where we wanted to go. We had some ideas, but we put it together there. So we fly from Boston to Iceland. It's like a 6-hour difference, I think, maybe 5. I can't remember. And then we land, and I think it's the next day, the next morning. And so from then we just drove and hit some spots, and I think we were up for almost like we were well over 2 days, and then like we just parked.
Just no sleep.
Yeah, so and like we're like we'll get tired once it gets dark, but it didn't get dark.
Never
so
gets
we're
dark.
like we pull up this waterfall at like 12 o'clock, and we're like, and this is when we had been up for like a day and a half or something. We're like let's just keep going if we can. And I remember driving and being so tired, and But we
Like, hey, bro, I need to stop. I'm starting to hallucinate.
yeah,
Like,
you do start hallucinating when you get tired and driving. Because I remember seeing some stuff that wasn't even there when I was.
Oh, I gotta take a picture of this.
Yeah.
There's nothing there, man. There's nothing there.
Yeah,
Keep going.
you take a picture later. You look at it, you're like,
Where's that thing I took a picture? Yeah.
but so yeah, we just found this random building and like it's so cool in Iceland because it's just so like wild and free still. Like you can just pull on the side of the road and sleep for a while, and I don't think anybody's gonna say anything. There's so many like abandoned like homesteads just out away from the city. You can tell like that's how people used to make a living, but then other things came up, like to ways to make money. So they just like everybody started moving back towards the city because like we just went on the southern road, which is a lot more populated. Like if you drove all the way around it, like I couldn't imagine like the abandoned stuff you would see up there.
How big is Iceland?
I mean, there's more puffins there than people.
Puffins.
Yeah, like the little birds, the like penguins.
Oh, okay. The pink. Okay,
yeah, there's like
okay.
millions of those, but I can't remember the size, the population size and stuff.
It's not like a small island. I mean, it's pretty.
It's pretty big, but it's not like super big.
Okay.
You could probably if somebody was traveling through, not taking photos like we were, because we would stop at pretty much everything.
Yeah,
we were out
sure.
there in the summer, so
Like, dude, I'm here. I'm taking pictures
yeah,
of
you
everything.
have waterfalls that probably don't have names coming off the top of the the middle of the island is called the Highlands. It's a lot higher. That's where all the glaciers are and stuff. So there's just random waterfalls everywhere that we're just stopping at and taking photos. But so if somebody's out there that's not really doing that, you could probably drive around it in a week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
Get a good geography lesson here.
We kind of just stuck to the southern road just because that's the most popular and that's where we knew where everything was. But once you get to like the northwestern part, which we didn't go all the way up there, that's where all like the fjords are, which is like fjord is like a mountainous area that's carved by a glacier at one time, and it's attached, like you can see the ocean from it. I guess that's kind of what they describe it as. But
Fjord.
yeah, that's like where more puffins are, like because that's what
Puffins.
one of our objectives on the trip was like we got to find some puffins and take photos of
You
them.
gotta find the puffins, man.
Yeah. So but that's where I'm definitely gonna go out there again because it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. So if we ever plan a trip out there again, I think we're definitely going to go that way and try
Dude,
to.
I'm coming,
north.
man.
Yeah, come
Put me on
man.
board. Teach me
Yeah.
how to take pictures.
Yeah, it was definitely an experience.
So besides that stands out just in recent history. But any other epic trips that you've taken that compared to Iceland,
Equivalent,
I guess,
yeah.
Because in my mind, it seems like Iceland would just be like the pinnacle. You know,
Yeah.
just being so far away from home and just
Yeah.
such a new culture and just the landscape. And
Yeah,
everything.
it was
like,
insane. Like
it's like everything is picturesque.
I would-
It's like, oh my god, I could stop a million places. And take
yeah,
pictures.
like I would wake up or just like look out the window while we're driving. And it's like, man, I can't believe I'm here. It's just so insane. I mean, anytime I go on a trip, I think it brings different challenges. I mean, I've done some trips 3 or 4 times where like to Zion, like I've been out there 6 times. It's definitely my favorite place in the world to
Yeah.
go. It was my first. I mean, I've been to like the Smoky Mountains, like driving through when I was younger, but like Zion was the first like national park that I stepped foot in. And on that first trip I was telling y'all about that was life changing. Like I was only there for half a day,
yeah.
and I remember leaving. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? Half a day.
Dude.
And I did Did y'all do Angels Landing when y'all went out there?
No.
No.
Yeah, it was
So-
a hard
Terrifying.
So,
You've done it in the dark, though, haven't you?
What?
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say next.
Yeah.
dude, well, okay, so to preface our Zion trip, it was life changing for us because that was probably the first big, epic mountains that I've seen.
Yeah.
Especially driving through the canyon.
Oh yeah.
You can find YouTube videos.
It's
of these videos.
like we would play the Jurassic
It's
Park
like,
theme song.
dude,
and I get
it's
chills.
just so
Yeah.
insane, and just the whole. We drove out there, and so shout out to Gearbox for
Yeah.
renting us the van that we drove in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made like a whole like week and a half trip out of it. Drove out there and then camped for like 3 or 4 days, and then drove back, and so it was just epic the whole way.
Yeah.
But man, once we got out there, just seeing all that stuff, and we did several hikes and tried to squeeze in as much as we could while we were there, and found an awesome campground right next to this like river that we got to like swim in and stuff. Cause
Oh, that's cool. Was
we
it just
went
like
to-
a primitive site? Like you didn't like
we
the
had
backcountry?
No, it
I mean?
had hookups.
yeah we had
Oh, okay,
hookups,
okay.
and they gave us little tokens to like take showers and stuff at the outhouse or the shower house or whatever.
The
Not primitive
Zion
at all.
Adventure
It
Place.
was not
No, it was
primitive.
not primitive.
Had a laundry room, a pool.
Yeah, no, we were super basic when we went.
Oh, you're fine. I mean, I've camped at the campground there before, but one of them was like reservation only, and one was like first come first serve.
So we had reservations.
Okay, the first come
It
first
was the
serve.
middle of the summer.
Yeah,
and it was like super hot.
The first come first serve campground. I've stayed there twice, and the only reason I've been able to stay there because I plan these trips last minute, or I plan where I want to go last minute, so I don't know like 8 months out, like hey, I'm gonna go to Zion. So, but that first come first serve campground, they changed it to reservation only too. So like I guess I'll never stay in the campground there again unless I just know I'm gonna be out there in a year or whatever. But
You're right.
I was kind of sad to see that, but.
Can you stay inside the national park overnight?
They
in
fill up
Zion?
really fast.
You can, so there's campgrounds and there's backcountry permits that they only issue so many. Like, did y'all hike any of the Narrows when y'all were there?
Yeah.
So there's there's only like 16 campsites in the Narrows, which is that if you start at the top and come to the bottom, I think it's 18 miles or 16. So
Okay.
there's only 16 campsites. So 8 of them are like reservation only, and then the other 8 are walk up only for like the next day. So we got lucky. We walked up and they're like, yeah, there's some for tomorrow. So we got a permit for that and got a campsite. And you have to get a shuttle that takes you to the top, and it's expensive as heck anyway doing that. So we got the shuttle up there, and you start like on somebody's property, and then you just walk all the way down the canyon until you end up back in the national park.
Okay.
And you can camp in the middle of that. And it's pretty cool because like the campsites are like half a mile apart. So like you'll be camping and there'll be nobody within like, a half a mile this way or that way. And that was probably like, if I think back to like places that I've woken up, that was number one, just, hiking into there and setting up camp and waking up just in the Narrows. That was definitely
man, I bet.
top
Dude,
place
that's
that
so
I've
epic.
camped so far. Yeah.
We did the Narrows, but we we were hiking in the river, like going up, and I don't know how many miles we went.
You can
before
only
we
go
were just
so
worn
far
out. Yeah.
if you hike up from the bottom, because once you get to, did y'all hike to where that little waterfall is? It's like where there's grass all over it and stuff. It's not a tall waterfall. It's like 15 feet.
I'd have to look back at our pictures. We got to a point where it kind of forked, and we saw some good picturesque moments. And by that point, we were pretty worn out.
Almost to
So-
Wall Street, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then, we turned around and came back.
Yeah, you can only hike up so far without a permit. I'm sure people just say whatever and go.
Screw it and do it. Yeah.
But I mean, once you get past that part, I mean, there's the Wall Street, like she was saying, is the best part, and that's where everybody goes. And it's cool to like wake up there because like the water's so clear. But once everybody starts hiking in it, that day, like they're kicking up all the mud, so then it just
Silt,
becomes like a
silt.
muddy river.
Yeah.
But up further north from there, the water's just so clear and stuff.
Were you not nervous about flooding at all? Just a little bit?
Yeah, because I'd always heard like, flash floods is a thing, but then like it can be sunny where you're at and raining north of you,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna. Because like we left Zion one day and went to Canaraville, and this is where like I saw the photos of that. There's like a waterfall and like a little tree trunk or something somebody made, and they like nailed like metal steps to it, and it's like a really cool picture. So we went to that, and you have to hike through the water to that. And that was a spot too where I'm like, this is a lot smaller of a canyon than the Narrows. So I was like, if we really have to pay attention if it's raining up north. And I think the second time
So
I
there's
went
no
up,
way to get like out of the.
Yeah, what do you do?
it's just straight up walls. So
Yeah.
flash flood. And I always thought flash flood is just a bunch of water, but if you look up,
It's like logs and
yeah, it looks like chocolate
mud
milk
and,
with like trees in it.
Yeah,
So you're
yeah.
like definitely gonna die if that gets to you.
Yeah, I found a couple of YouTube videos where people just so happen to have cameras and caught
Yeah.
a flash flood, and I'm like, dude, that is dangerous.
Yes,
man.
that's like I always wondered like how a river flowing so peacefully as it is carving out, but that's what carves out most of it is when like the flash floods happen and stuff.
It's moving boulders,
Yeah,
and all kinds of stuff. Man. It's crazy.
Because like anytime you ride the shuttle in Zion, they'll tell you like about like how this big boulder fell and it flooded the river and it made it divert to the road, so they had to
Yeah.
close it for a while, and it's pretty interesting. All that stuff is to me.
Yeah, Zion was really cool. Going back to the Angels Landing thing, no, we did not do the full go to the top.
We
got-
came
But
close.
you couldn't have paid me to do it, so I may have held them back a little bit. But
We hiked up to like the final. I don't know what you call it, but it's like the final spot before
Scouts
you start hitting,
Lookout.
before you hit like the chain link
Yeah.
handles and stuff going up. And we were pretty tired, and they were like, I'm not going. And I was like, I'm just going to see how far I can make it. And I think I didn't even make it past like the first like little chain link section. And I was like, no, I'm not doing
Yeah.
this because it's so narrow. And it was crowded too, man. There's a lot.
But
of
we
people
did
up
hike the other. What was the other one we went to?
We went to
you can,
Observation Point.
where you
which is
see Angels Landing.
Yeah, observation
from.
point.
there. That was rad. That was
Yeah.
probably the first thing that we did. And,
So y'all hiked it from the canyon, right?
No, it was
No.
closed. We had to go a back exit from
Okay.
a ranch or something.
Yeah, so
we're hiking through like backcountry.
I've hiked it both ways, and like
which is better.
Yeah, the hike from the actual canyon was terrible. I mean,
well, you could see it. We could see the rock slide. They were like,
Yeah.
okay, this is why it's closed. And you
okay,
could see where it's
because
just like,
it's been closed for like 2 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I went when
it's
I
like
went,
a million tons of
yeah.
stone and rock. I mean, what do you do? You can't get a tractor up there.
Could you
How do
imagine like being there hiking and just seeing that happen?
Oh, dude.
Like, I'd be terrified.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
But-
you did Angel's Landing at night? Is that
Yeah.
what
So the
said?
first time I did Angel's Landing, like this was when I was by myself on that trip. So I planned like half a day there. So I was like, when I got there, I kept hearing people talk about Angel's Landing, and actually the dude that did the Airbnb that on the Airbnb I stayed at the night before was talking about it. So I was like, maybe I'll do Angel's Landing because I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got there.
Can you pull up a photo of Angel's Landing? Just see how crazy this is at night.
I mean, I have a video like from the first trip I went on. I had my GoPro on and I was like recording me hiking up it.
So the first time you did Angel Landing was at night?
No, it was during the day.
Just during the day.
So
okay.
it was middle of the summer, and it was 12 like noon. So like it was the most crowded it's going to be that day,
Right.
and it was very hot. And this was really my first time doing a hike like that, and I was so ill prepared. Like I had Nike running shoes on. I had like
Oh, that was me.
regular.
That
yeah,
was
us.
We weren't prepared.
I
We went to
definitely-
Walmart and like got some like little backpacks that were super
Yeah.
cheap, and got some canteen, like little water bottle canteens, which actually turned out to be awesome.
yeah.
And then what else did we get? Just like random supplies, but we were not prepared at all.
So I had like a North Face backpack that's made for like school, and I had my cameras in it, just like banging lenses and camera probably banging
Yeah.
together. So I did it that way, and I had like I didn't have proper stuff to eat. So I remember getting down, and I'm like my back of my throat was so dry, like I guess I don't know. It's like I was eating like drinking a Gatorade afterwards, and it would burn my throat so bad just because like
Oh man.
I ran out of water like halfway up.
All right, so this is a video of somebody going up Angel's Landing.
Look at that.
Look at that, dude.
You did that at night.
Yeah.
No way.
All right.
I wouldn't do that during. No
So,
way.
Did you
dude.
just okay?
No way.
Surely it was on accident. Like you went up there and then it got dark and you had to come down.
No, so
You did
like-
it on purpose.
So the very first time I went, the guy
Look
that
at
I was
That's straight up, man. Like no, dude, no. And then like okay, on our tour, like the guy that was down on the road. I don't know if the video will show it, but like on the road, you can look up and it's like, oh, okay, you see those little bitty tiny dots? Those are people,
Yeah.
like going across these like ridges on Angel's Landing. And he started naming like, yeah, we had like X number of people die, in the past 6 months from falling, and he's just casually talking about it like it just happens all the time.
Yeah, making people not want to do
I was
it.
just like, what? No. Surely people don't die on this trail. And he was like, yeah, people die all the time. They just fall to their death. And
Yeah. So the very first time I was gonna do it, the guy that I stayed with the night before, like he's very knowledgeable about Zion. Like he's like, this is why I moved out here, and so I could be closer to the park. I was like, that's pretty cool. But he's like, you get to the top, you have to do all these switchbacks. Then you get to the top, and there's this chain you have to hold on to. He said this chain, like singular chain. So I'm thinking it's one like 10. Like in my mind, I had this image like 10 feet. You walk across this small part where you hold onto the chain, and then
there's stairs and there's clear markers.
I never looked up a picture of it, and when I started doing the hike,
none of
I
those
did
things.
Walter's Wiggles, which is like the short switchbacks. to the
Dude,
top.
those freaking switchbacks.
Yes, they're terrible. And then I get up there, I'm like, holy shit, this is the chain he's talking about. Like I have to go up to that. So I was like, well, shit, I made it this far. I'm not turning back. So I did it. And it was like during the middle of the day, it was super dangerous because like you're going around people, you're like waiting for people to come down, then you go. So, and then the next time I went out there was with my friend Trey, and I was like, dude, let's hike up there and do some astrophotography because the Milky Way comes right across like the Watchman, which is that mountain you see down the canyon. And then it just moves
crazy.
across. So like it's like the perfect lineup. So I was like, let's hike it at night. And we can camp. You're not supposed to camp up there, but I was like, let's take some sleeping pads and we'll stay up there. And
Yeah, who's coming for you, man? Really?
Yeah, so-
right. Nobody.
so we get there, and it's like right as the shuttle stops running. So I'm like, damn, now we got to hike 2 miles up this road to even get to the shuttle stop. So we're walking up there. Yeah, that was from.
Is this the picture right here?
Yeah, that's from Angel's Landing,
Wow, dude.
and that's just
okay.
such a long exposure to get the canyon lit up. Like I wasn't worried about this.
The stars
180
and stuff.
180 seconds. I can see it on there is how long that exposure was at 1.2. So that kind of tells you how dark it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude,
So you
that's
hike up to the to the shuttle.
Yeah, we're walking up there and we see this van coming or just vehicles. So like, let's try to hitchhike. So we stick our thumbs out and the dude stops because he's actually looking for 2 people from like Germany that were lost.
Oh.
Yeah, so he gave us
Okay.
a ride to the shuttle, which saved us like a mile and a half, which was very, I'm very thankful for that. So we get up there and then we start, and like halfway, or like we're not even to like the switchbacks. I'm like, dude, we didn't bring the propane for the cook stove, so we have no food, and we're already probably hungry at this point. So I was like, well, we'll just go up there and take some photos and come down.
Cold soak, man.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
So we hiked up there, and I was like, this is actually not bad because it wasn't hot. It was in the middle of summer we went, but it wasn't hot.
Right.
Nobody's in your way. We have like really good headlamps, so you got plenty of light. And like you can't see the ground, you can't
Yeah, I was
see
about
how
to
far
say,
you are.
can't see how high up you are.
Yeah,
you know?
so you think like it can't be that far, but like I think it's like what 700 feet on one side and 1,500 on the other.
Insane.
Yeah, so we get up there and I'm like, we're dead set on like sleeping up there, and then we see these scorpions. And I'm like, nah, we're not sleeping up here.
Whoa.
If we had like a hammock maybe, but I'm not sleeping on the ground because I'm just and they weren't like small, they were like pretty big scorpions.
Dude, I didn't even
So,
think about like
and even just sitting,
scorpions
even just
are
like
sick.
sitting there, like with our tripod set up, I'm like, looking around me, I'm like, these things are gonna crawl up my pants or
Oh,
crawl up my
yeah.
shorts or something.
coming out at night and stuff.
Yeah, and so even up there, at night, like it's 105 during the day. I think it was like 115 in Vegas where we landed. Then we drive to Zion, and you get up there at night. It was pretty chilly. Like we had on like our jackets and pants and stuff like that. So we're up there taking photos, and I think we get done at like 2 or 3 a.m. and then we start hiking down, and the shuttle starts running at like 6 a.m. So I was like, well, let's just wait on the shuttle. So we just like found like the park bench, the shuttle stops. We just like, had like a little camping pillow. So I just set my pillow up, and I think we took like
Slept on
an
the bench.
hour or 2 nap there. Yeah. So then we get done with that, and then we go. It's still early, so we go to that campsite that's first come first serve. Get a campsite, and then we drive to that Canaraville to do that hike. So usually like the first day or two, earlier on the first day or two of my trips, I'm like, let's just
All right,
stay
never
up.
mind. I'm
Brutal.
not going with you. Yeah, you're hardcore, man.
But now it's like, because usually the night before when I fly, like I'm still packing like early into the morning, and I get like 4 hours of sleep, and then I have to fly, and I can't sleep on a plane like I used to be able to. So I get somewhere, I'm tired. I'm like, the first night, let's just get like a hotel or Airbnb to kind of get our stuff situated. If the people I'm traveling with like live somewhere else, we maybe need to come up with a game plan of like where we want to go. So we'll plan that the first night, and then just get a good night's rest, and then from that point forward, it's like game on.
yeah. Well, that's crazy, man.
Because like going back to Iceland, we were there I think 8 nights, and 2 of those nights we had a hotel or Airbnb. The rest of the nights we just kind of like stayed up all night, and then found a parking lot and slept in the car. We had a RAV4, so I mean, it wasn't too cramped, but I mean, it was pretty nice.
Well, now you got your van, so
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. Or are you just starting to plan more trips, doing like I guess road trips instead of flying, and
Yeah,
camp
so-
along the way?
Next month in October, I was wanting to fly to like Maine and check out some foliage just in like New England and stuff, but
I've always wanted to go up there.
Yeah,
and, like
now
kind of see
we're not
that
going-
part of the country.
yeah, we're not going that far. But so I think I was looking at flights, and for some reason the flights went away, and from Southwest, because that's who I usually always fly with, and so I was like, I'm just going to plan a van trip then. So I think I have my friend Trey, he got a van just a few months ago, and he's working on it. So I was like, dude, you got a month, just get your bed situation ready to go. And I was like, let's go somewhere. So I think we're going to go up to Kentucky and hit Mammoth Cave, which is a national park I've never been to. And then we might go over to West Virginia, and there's a hike over there called Seneca Rocks. It's like where you're hiking along a spine. It's kind of like
Okay.
Angel's Landing, but there's no chains.
Never heard of that one.
Yeah, I haven't either until they started talking about it, a couple of years ago. So we want to do that. And then this is like, I think prime time for foliage. It'll be next month, like halfway through, like especially the further north you go. So we want to go over to Shenandoah National Park, which I've been before, but it was winter, so like there was no leaves. It snowed there, which was pretty cool, but like I want to go like when foliage is like peak, and I think
Okay.
hopefully we'll time it right. So we'll go over to Shenandoah, which is probably like 12 or 13 hours from Birmingham, and then we'll just start driving back, hit like some spots in North Carolina, Tennessee, and just end up back in Birmingham.
So you do this purely as a hobby, like it's just fun. Or I mean,
For
is there
now.
any way for you to like capitalize on this in
Yeah.
any way? I mean, I know with all the avenues, and maybe you know more about this than I do.
Yeah.
But like,
Uh,
is there a way to like monetize like
National
photographs like
Geographic.
that?
Or
I mean,
something?
yeah,
Yeah,
unless
Nat
apart
Ge-
from getting hired for like Discovery or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Nat Geo would be like the dream job. Just like, travel around and take photos and
Yeah.
get paid. Hopefully they get paid good. I mean, even if they didn't get paid that great, like just for them to
Can you just get
to
me there?
fund
Yeah,
your
just-
trips and
right.
yeah,
Break even, yeah, man.
that would be incredible. But yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, the bigger following you have on Instagram, the more money it seems like you could pull in, like as far as like brands reaching out to you wanting photos.
Sure, yeah.
So that would be the goal one day, maybe, was to just get paid to do stuff like that. But I don't know. It's
Rep gear and
yeah.
do, like,
I mean, it's like you said, solely now it's for a hobby, and I don't know. I think if I'm scared that like if it became my job, like would it not be my passion anymore?
Right.
So
yeah, I hear a lot of people that say like you can do anything in the world, but once you do it enough, anything
Yeah.
becomes a job.
So
for someone, but-
and I hate to say it, but I think working at Publix, I've been there for 14 years. In November it'll be 14 years. So I think that's kind of been hurting me, because it's like, I have a job where I get paid, so why do I need to get paid to take photos? And it's definitely a safe fall, and one day I'll leave there and branch out and see what the world has to offer.
Well, it seems like competition would be. I mean, especially with like just the popularity of social media and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of other people doing it as well, which is also cool because it kind of fuels the creative
Yeah.
juices and stuff. But I don't know.
You
Man.
pull ideas from other people and stuff, but I mean, it's been done. I mean, like, do y'all follow Chris Burkard on social media?
I don't.
He's from
know.
California, and he started off just doing like surf photography and just hearing his stories about like when he first started, like he had zero money to do whatever, but he's pretty big now. Like, he was on the forefront, like when Instagram became what it is now. Like, he was on the forefront of like that, and he's definitely making money from it. And he directs videos and stuff. There's actually a video that he made called Under an Arctic Sky, where he goes to Iceland and
Under
you
the
seen-
Arctic Sky,
Yeah,
the
you
surf
seen it?
video.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah, he was the main dude.
That
like,
is the coolest
Yeah.
thing in the world. It's where they're surfing at the under the
Northern Lights.
Arctic
Northern
Sky.
Lights. God,
Yeah.
I can't think. Not the Arctic Sky, but yeah, the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
And they had this dude, and he's riding a wave, and they're spotlighting him, and the Northern Lights are going on.
Yeah.
And they actually got that photo. And yes, I did see that.
Yeah, so
Long
that's
story short,
Chris
it's
Burkard,
really
the
cool.
dude that was like, with the camera all the time and always saying, "Hey, let's go out, come
Yeah.
on, guys," But he's got a lot of stuff, and I actually met the dude. So like, I was by myself on a trip in California, and he lives in Pismo Beach. Like, he has a studio out there where he has like all of his photography and stuff like that. So I was driving down, and I knew I was close, and I just pulled into this random gas station to get gas, and I see this Mercedes Sprinter van that's like a matte green. And I was like, that looks like Chris's van. So I pull up behind this other car that's getting gas, and I see him out there like cleaning his van. I'm like, that's definitely him. I got to go talk to him. So like, I'm completely like fangirling now, and I go up there. I'm like, what's up, dude? And like, go to shake his hand. He's like, man, my hands are dirty. I'm like, so we like gave the elbow thing, which was funny because
I don't care, man.
that's like
Hug me.
way before. That's like the thing to do now, and
Yeah.
it's way before its time. But we did that, and I just talked to him for about 5 minutes. He was, I kind of felt bad because he was with his family, and here I am like, what's up, man?
You're right.
But
drove here
it
from
was pretty
Alabama.
cool to see him. Like, I got a selfie with him and stuff. Like,
Dude,
it was
that's
really
awesome,
cool.
man.
Yeah, but he's as far as like just doing photos and videos and just monetizing the whole social media thing, like, he was on the forefront of that. So it can definitely be done, but I don't know. Like, I've had people reach out like, hey, will you take photos of this to get money? And I'm just lazy with it. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get back with you, and I just never do. But if I didn't have a that kind of falls back on like the Publix thing. Like, I was like, well, I have a job, so that pays my bills and stuff. But as far as like, if I didn't have that, like, I think I would be more have more self motivation to get out and do stuff like that.
Still, that's so rad, though, man. It's like the pictures you take are absolutely breathtaking.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the editing
no doubt.
is what's rough with me. Like, I'll go on a trip and take all these photos and get back, and like, I'm like, I don't want to edit any of them.
Oh, dude, no. Editing's the worst part of.
That's
anything.
why I stopped doing like weddings and stuff, because I go and take over 1,000 photos, and you get back and it's like, man. And this isn't something that I want to edit, like the landscapes and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I look forward to
this
editing.
is fun.
those.
Yeah, that's cool stuff.
But the wedding, because it'll take me forever to get stuff back to people, and they would be getting mad and kept contacting me. I was just like, yeah, I'm working on it still, but I don't know, but yeah, the editing is definitely a challenge, and I think especially now, like just looking through some people's photos that I see, like man, it's become like to me, it's like 20% taking the photo and it's like 80% editing it because some people
Really?
edit there so much to where like there's this effect that people do. It's called the Orton effect, Orton.
Orton effect.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I'll show you some photos of it when we're done. But like it looks more like a painting than anything, and I don't know. I don't even know how to do all that, but it's just it seems like it's more of like a digital art than physical.
Super artificial, I guess.
Yeah. And I really don't like it. I mean, some of the stuff I do, you can tell like it's definitely edited. And some people think, the editing process isn't even like part of photography, but to me it is. I mean, you can take a photo and before you even edit it, it looks totally different.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like that's
But
part of it. I agree.
when I first started, I remember I was like, I'm not going to edit any of my photos. I'm going to take
I'm
them.
a purist, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna edit
Hashtag
it.
no
But it's-
filter.
No
yeah,
filter, dude.
But it's so much of the process now of editing and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
you can do so much. If you take a raw photo and you like, there's this picture I took one time of somebody holding like one of those massive smoke bombs you have, and like the smoke is really dense. It's not like this smoke bomb you get from like the fireworks stand. But like the color was orange, and like if you just change the sliders on the colors and stuff like that,
Make it
you
look
can
like
yeah,
yellow.
it's like goes from orange to yellow to purple. I mean, it's just crazy like how much the color range you can get. So there's just so much you can do with editing, nowadays and stuff. So it's
But I
fun.
would still say you still have to know how to take the photo in the first
Yeah.
place. 'Cause you can't
Oh,
just take
yeah.
any picture and just
Right.
hand it to an editor and be like, "Hey, make this a magical
Yeah.
masterpiece."
Yeah,
Like,
so there's a thing I always wanted to do with like, especially for night photos. Like when I go out somewhere, like I want to take my photo and I'm going to edit it the way I want to. But then like the same scene, just take a picture with my phone, so to show people.
and see
like,
how.
yeah, because like some of the pictures at night, if you go out there, like it's gonna be completely dark. Like you might see a star like on your
Dude,
phone.
no, man. When we went out to Zion specifically, we were at the campsite, and I was like, "Man, I'm gonna take this time," because we were just kind of hanging out after probably Angel's Landing hike that day, and I was like, "I'm gonna try my hand at like doing some night photography." And so I'm at this campsite, obviously, with a bunch of other, glamping.
Yeah,
But I set up on this rock, and I'm just trying to get this picture of like the mountain ridges in the background, and expose it long enough that I get the stars and stuff. And I remember sitting there, and taking photo after photo after photo, and doing long exposures and
Yeah.
then longer exposures, and none of them were turning out how I wanted to. And I'm like, how does Justin do this? Like, he makes it look so easy, and even with the editing, I would say that it's not easy to get those
No, it's
shots.
definitely
and
not.
to make
Like
it
I
look
remember,
cool.
like that very first trip that I went on by myself. Like I had no idea how to shoot. Like I knew how to do night stuff from just being around here and doing stuff. But like Astro was just a different level. Like I remember going on that first trip and not getting anything, and going on another trip and not getting anything. And then I think it was like my third trip that I went out there. I was actually on a trip with my brother, and we went to Washington and Oregon. And I remember being like, because I could never find the Milky Way. Like I didn't ever have an app or anything like that. And I just remember being on this trip with my brother, and we're camping, and I remember looking up, and it looked like something was just cloudy. I'm like, that's got to be the Milky Way. So I took a photo, and the trees were like this, so you can only see a certain part of it. But it was definitely the Milky Way, and I was like, okay, maybe I can take some on this trip, because I didn't know like it had to be in the summer, because like in the winter the Milky Way is below the horizon at night, so you can see the tail of it, but not the core.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like
Didn't know that.
summertime is prime time for it, and then you got to think about the moon cycle. So I didn't know all this back then.
It's space, man. It's always there.
Dude, it's just
The
look
North
up,
Star's
man.
always the Big Dipper. I see it every night.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So and I'm out there with my brother, and we're on like the coast, so it's super dark. And I take some photos, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. This is my first picture of the Milky Way I'm taking, And back then I was just taking photos of thinking of the sky, but now it's like, you have the sky, and then you're like, what's going to be my foreground? Because the foreground is just as important as the sky. Like when I'm trying to think of like a composition now,
Spoken like a true professional. Like,
because back then it was just like the sky, and the foreground was a silhouette of something.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's like we have to have something in the foreground, whether it's me flying my drone at something, or just lighting it up with a lume cube or a flashlight. Like I don't like shining a light into the sky. I used to do that all the time, but it kind of kills some stars. So I have this thing now. It's y'all probably know what it is, Gary Fong.
I don't know.
It just
what that
goes on
is.
your flash. It's a diffuser.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just like
Oh, is that what we have with our? Is it called a? It's just a diffuser. Okay. We use
It's like-
something for like reception photography.
It's more of a globe, so it's like more of like, you know,
okay.
it
Probably
goes
not what we
out
want.
everywhere. It's not directional.
What do I know?
So I'll get in the foreground a lot, and that's like if I'm shooting a tree or something, you know, I use it to light up the foreground, and it works really good. I've been very satisfied with the stuff I've gotten for it, but that's like whenever I travel now, it's just like, you know, okay, the Milky Way is going to be here, but what is it going to line up with? Like we always think about, you know, what it's
The
gonna,
next, like you're 3 steps ahead of me.
Yeah.
I would just be like, oh, I can see some stars. Cool.
Yeah. So the first trip I went on, like back from having the 7D, you know, I was like, okay, I'm not bumping my ISO up above 800 just because of the grain.
Yeah.
But with the 5D Mark III and 4 and stuff, it's like, well, you can jack that thing up and still, but I was still scared to.
Yeah.
But when you go do astro, like if you're shooting on a pretty fast lens, like say 2.8, you still need to go to like 3200. And I was always really scared to do that. But that's how you know, get the Milky Way to really pop.
Yeah.
But now I would say like my favorite lens to use for Milky Way, like I bought the 24 1.4 for my Sony, and it's just like incredible.
Is that a prime lens?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the prime lenses are a lot faster. So like when I had my Canon, I think I had even shooting like, well, if you shoot it, and focal length plays a part too. Like, do you know what lens compression is? So if you shoot
I probably couldn't explain it the way you explain
Yeah.
it, but yes, I understand lens compression.
So if you shoot at 14 millimeters, you know, you're wide, so the Milky Way is going to be a lot smaller.
Right.
And then if you start, you know, increasing your focal length, like 35 was probably like one of my favorites because it's just the Milky Way is more prominent in the shot. But 24, it's still pretty prominent, and that's the main lens that I shoot with now. I do Milky Way is the 24 millimeter. And then after, you know, starting to master that stuff, I'm like, okay, well, what's the next step? Like I started seeing these like very detailed photos of the Milky Way, and they use what's called a star tracker. So you have to, it goes on your tripod, and then your camera mounts to that. And what it does is it barely moves, but it's moving with the stars. So you can do like a 2-minute exposure.
So that's how you get to eliminate the blur that you get from the movement of the Earth with the stars. Okay.
But
okay.
you always have to do a composite image, because if it's moving, you know, of course the foreground is going to be a little blurry.
Sure.
So you have to like composite if you pull up the last photo that I uploaded on my Instagram, it's actually a composite with the star tracker.
So much more goes
Dude,
into this
I'm
than
telling
I
you,
thought.
man. I'm just like, dude, I don't get it, man. I don't understand how you can. Like,
It's truly a science.
it's like a painting, or it's like.
Yeah, so
Whoa, that's insane.
This
dude.
is actually a really cool spot in Arizona. It took like 2 hours off road to get there, driving through like dirt and sand on these like small trails, and it's called White Pocket. So the foreground picture, I was actually flying my drone, and I think I just had it positioned off to the right. As you can tell, it's brighter on the right side. But and then
So
I
you're using the drone to light up the foreground,
Yeah.
just enough so that it exposes for the picture.
yeah.
Okay.
And then, but if you fly a drone or if you have it in the sky, you know, it's gonna kind of kill the Milky Way behind it. So I had to composite. So the Milky Way is actually from like a different location. I think it's like 10 or 15 photos stacked together, and that's how you kind of get the details in that core of the Milky Way.
Wow.
But with the star tracker, you have to align it with Polaris, which is the North Star. You know, it never moves in the sky, so it's always in the same spot. So you align it with that, and then once you turn it on, it just rotates very slowly. And what that allows you to do is you can run for the Milky Way here, I was probably running like ISO 200, so there's very little grain, and you can do like, you know, 1.46 or 1.8, and then you can run, you know, like a 2-minute exposure, a minute and a half. So you're gonna get a lot less grain, and if it's moving with it, like the star trackers are really used for like you can get a really good one and do like deep space photography, like have a 200 millimeter lens or a 400 millimeter lens and do like take pictures of nebulas and just different
Mars.
stuff like that. Yeah, Mars. But that's what the star trackers are made for. And the first one I had was, you know, it comes with like a counterweight, and it's very heavy. Like I actually hiked up to Angel's Landing with 2 cameras, 2 tripods, and the star tracker in my backpack. And
Backwards, in the dark.
didn't even
This is
use it.
hardcore.
Yeah,
man.
I didn't even use it. So
Man.
that was the second time I went there at night. So I've done it 3 times, but the second time I went up there at night was a lot colder, and we actually took a tent up there, and we had 3 people in a 2-person tent, and it didn't work out. We got like maybe an hour or 2 of sleep.
But it's fending off the scorpions, so I guess you weren't too worried
Yes,
about that.
the scorpions could not get in. So
Okay.
But yeah, so
That's terrifying.
I don't know what the next step to get better astrophotos is, but you know, I'm all for finding out what it is. But Star Tracker, I'm still trying to, you know, I know how to get out there, get set up, take the photos, but now it's just like the editing process, because like you can use Photoshop to align the photos, but there's also different apps like like Starry Landscape Stacker or Starry Night Stacker or something like that you can use that does it, but I don't always get the best results for it, so I don't really know how to use those. Got to find a YouTube tutorial or something.
Oh, dude, this is way over my head, man. I thought you were just like expert. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely fun though, man. There's nothing more peaceful than just being out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it seems
know?
like the whole camping aspect, you know, like being out there. Like I remember coming back from Zion, we stopped. Where was that we stopped?
Holbrook, Arizona.
And so I had this idea in my head. I was like, man, I just want to go out in the desert where it's like we're so far out there you could shoot a gun in any direction and not hit anything.
Yeah.
And so we got off the beaten path, and Zach found a place on this app that he had. And we drove way off the beaten path into the middle of the desert. It's just flat desert, and camped out there. I think one of the last nights before we drove back to Alabama.
Yeah.
And man, it was just such a cool experience, you know, just seeing the landscape and being out there. And it's so eerily quiet.
Yeah.
You know, and I walked across I was just walking around looking at stuff, and I walked upon this big giant jackrabbit. I'd never seen a jackrabbit.
They're pretty big.
Dude,
yeah.
they are humongous, man.
It's kind of scary.
And so I tried to snap some photos, and I ran back. I was like, I just saw the biggest rabbit I've ever seen in my life. But it was so cool. And yeah, talking about Oregon, you know, we had a lot of fun going out to Oregon and camping out there. And
yeah, I was following y'all's photos and stuff. It seemed like a lot of fun.
well, I am not a trooper like you. I did not carry any of my gear. I just had my iPhone.
Yeah.
And
did y'all backpack the whole time, or did y'all like?
We backpacked the whole time. Yeah,
That's cool.
We did.
That's awesome.
We talked about it a little bit a couple episodes back, but it was about a 44-mile loop that we did.
Awesome.
How many days?
We did it in 4 days and 3 nights, and it was a test, man. We thought we were prepared, but it was hard.
Well, as long as you learn something new, man, that's the main thing. Like anytime I plan a trip or go on a trip, it's like I want to take something back home like that I didn't know before. Whether it be about photography, camping, just traveling, or just yourself. You always want to learn something new.
Yeah, well, we learned a lot. I learned how out of shape I am and
Yeah.
how I need to prepare better for the next trip. So, but we had a lot of fun, man. It was really cool.
Yeah. Backpacking is definitely, that's something that, I've never really, like I did it for my first time going to the Narrows, and that's like where we had to carry your
Gotta hike everything in. I
your
guess.
tent. If you want to cook, you got to have like your little cook stove and food and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, and I remember getting done and we went to eat afterwards, like a restaurant, and I couldn't like lift my arms up because my shoulders were so sore, but it goes away pretty quick. And anytime you stop to rest and you take your backpack off, you're like, man, what the heck am I thinking? When you start putting that thing back on and you're like, this is like 40 pounds. Like, what am I thinking? But it's fun. I enjoy it.
So going back to your van that you showed us earlier, are you thinking about going, like, living in it and going full time?
Yeah, so this summer I wanted to actually move out, and Utah's like been one of my favorite states ever since just going out there. So I wanted to, and like I said, Zion's like my favorite place in the world, definitely my favorite national park. I wanted to, live kind of close to it, and there's this company that I found, I probably wouldn't make but like $10 an hour, but I wouldn't really care. It's as long as I'm happy and I'm where I want to be. So I wanted to move out there, and that would be my start, just to, they have free housing at that place that I wanted to work at.
And what does this company do exactly?
They're it's called Under Canvas. It's just, camping or glamping. They have like these nice canvas tents, furniture in them. So I wanted to move out there and just kind of start there. And
so you'd be the guy setting up these tents, or
well, they stay there. So I mean, I don't really know what I would do. I could either like be cleaning them out when somebody stays there, or there's people that like work with them that kind of like tell the guests like about areas around there, like where you can go, like
act like a tour guide.
Yeah, there's like 15 different jobs you could do.
Sure.
They have like people that attend to the camps. Like you make sure like each campsite has like wood or enough of this or that. So I mean, there's different jobs you
Sounds
can
like
do.
my type of camping right there, man. Justin, I believe we need some more water, please.
That's right.
Yeah, but I wanted to work there, and then my off days would just be spent like in the park. I think it's about 20 minutes from Zion, so that was like perfect. Yeah,
Living the dream. Man.
Yeah.
Dude,
So I
how
wanted
cool
to
would
start
that be?
off with that, but then going from place to place, just pick where do I want to go today? I'm in my van. I can, go wherever. So that's the dream one day to, somehow fund that trip.
That would be rad, man.
Yeah, I
So-
do have a bunch of through Publix, we have stock and stuff like that. So I could, if I wanted to, sell my stock or do something like that, and
Okay.
I would have a good bit of money to travel with being there for so long.
Dude, that'd be rad.
Yeah.
Now you said you've gone to a lot of the national parks. How many have you gone to? Or
He said like 20.
Yeah, it's like
I was about to say, is it
25
too many to name? Like, 'cause I can
Yeah.
name on one finger how many
Yeah.
national parks.
Do you have
I've
one of
been
the stamp books or
No,
the national park
with
books?
the passport things.
Yeah.
No, I have. I just usually get like patches or pins. Like I have a whole
Magnets for
shoot,
me.
yeah, stickers. Like, I was thinking, I have like a ton of stickers. I'm like, should I put them on my van or should I wait until I actually go there in my van to put the sticker
Gotta
on?
earn it, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
thinking too. Like I like doing stuff the right way. So I was like, I'll just wait. Like I went to Shenandoah. That was the only national park I've been to so far. So I definitely put a Shenandoah sticker on there.
Now we ran into you randomly at a bar. We were at I think we had gone to see a show over
Yeah.
at Saturn, and this was
It was
maybe 2 years ago.
the Colts?
Who was that? The Colts, yes,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Colts. It's just Colts.
Oh,
maybe.
okay.
But we were sitting here and we were like, man, Colts is playing. I really like that band. And so we went up there and we ran into you,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were kind of catching up. And you showed me some footage. I don't know if we could talk about this, but anyways, you showed me some footage of like some drone stuff that you'd shot. But apparently, it is like super illegal to
Yeah.
fly drones in like national parks.
Yeah,
stuff.
and I mean I knew it was, and I've taken some photos, but like I just now on I'm like I respect the national parks too much to do that now. Like there's still some people that'll do it, but and I have friends that'll be like fly their drone there. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna really say nothing, but it's super illegal. It's like
Yeah.
I didn't really know it was at first, but I found out the hard way. I always saw the signs, but I didn't know like how strict
Are they
were
really
with it.
strict about it?
Oh yeah, like I was flying the drone and like I was riding in the car and the drone was above us, just following the car.
Okay.
And we passed a ranger and the guy that was driving was like, we just passed a ranger. I'm like, oh, okay. Is he turning around? He's like, yeah, he's turning around. I was like, no, he's not. And he's turning around. He's following us. So like,
You thought they were just messing with you?
yeah, and I was still flying it, so I just flew it off to the side. I mean, this is in Canyonlands National Park, so and as I'm looking down with the camera, like I'm just trying to find like a good spot to land. And I just found this like big rock. I don't know how flat it is. It looks flat from where I'm flying from, and I just like landed it, took the remote off my phone, threw it in the back, and we're just sitting there. And he pulls us over.
So he flips on the lights,
Yeah,
pulls you over and everything.
just
Okay.
like a traffic stop. So he pulls us over, and I'm like, man, do I go all in and be like, I don't have a drone, or am I like, yes, sir, it was mine?
Just gonna feel him out.
Yeah. So he comes up and he's like, hey, how are y'all? And we're like, good. And he's like, I pulled you over because there was a drone above your vehicle, and those are illegal in national parks. And I was like, I was like, I wish I had a drone.
At that moment, you were just like, all right, I'm going full denial.
Yeah, I'm like, I wish I had a drone. I'm like, shit, all in, man. I can't.
No going back.
There's no going back.
No going back from that. And he's like, okay, well, it's illegal to fly them in national parks, and it looked like you were looking down at like a controller or something. I was like, I was looking through my my
Just on
map.
the spot.
I was
trying
looking
to-
through this, or no, I was looking at my phone trying to find the visitor center. We don't have a map, and if anybody's been to Canyonlands that's watching this, Canyonlands is literally one road that goes through it with like two that branch off. It's not you do
Not
not,
a
No
place you
easy
need a
way to get
map.
lost.
you don't
Yeah.
need a map.
I really need a map. We're from Alabama. Let's
Yeah.
just plead that.
So and
Dang, man, I wish I had one of them drone things.
Yeah,
man.
that was all in from the get go, and then
Oh,
I was
man.
just like, all right. So he ends up, y'all have a good day or
Does
whatever.
he believe you, or is he like giving you
he's
the
probably
side eye?
he's probably
like,
definitely skeptical. My friend was like, I thought you pulled us over for speeding, and we're going like 30 miles an hour, which the speed
in the
limit-
middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
So, and I was thinking, I was like, okay, we got to go all out with this drone retrieval. So we actually go to the visitor center and get a map just in case we get pulled back over. And he's like, where's your map at? So then we go back. And I'm like, okay, we're not going to park and let me walk to get it. We're going to drop me off and I'm going to go find it and you're going to pick me up. Because I don't want him parked. If he sees us parked back where we were,
Yeah.
he's
gonna
going to be like,
know.
why are y'all here?
Yeah.
Why are you pulled over right here? So
you're thinking through it.
yeah. And then I had on like, I didn't have a hat on, and I had like my glasses on and like a blue jacket. So I changed to like a flannel. I took my hat off or put one on, whatever I didn't have before. Took my glasses off. And I'm like, I had my camera with my telephoto on in case I got like, what are you doing walking out in the middle of the desert? Like, oh, I saw something I was trying to.
You're on this like covert
Yeah,
mission,
dude.
man.
I was so. Scared.
He's all in.
He's all in. He said
I
it
was
earlier.
so scared. And then so I go out there and there's a like if you open up the DJI app, you can see like where your drone is compared to you. So I was just trying to follow it because it was
So it's still on.
It was still turned on because this isn't very long after.
Okay.
If your drone's just sitting there, the battery's going to last a lot longer than flying.
Sure.
So I ended up finding it, and it was you can fold it up, so it's pretty small. So I folded it up.
Stuff it under your shirt.
Yeah, I don't remember what I did, but I kind of like started walking back towards the road, and I see my friend pull up, so I jump in, and I don't know, I just had this vision like they're gonna be at the gate like searching people's cars and
that's
stuff.
right.
But we got out of there. I'm like, man, I'm never doing that again. It was pretty intense.
Well, you had the footage on your phone. And you showed it to me, and it looked like something out of a movie. It was like the coolest thing.
So
Yeah,
the footage was worth it.
Oh yeah, but
I never put it in a video because I can't tell you the last time I made an actual video other than like my van tutorials and stuff. But it's cool to go back and
it
watch.
looked cool, man.
Yeah.
You're showing me that, and I was like, God, you haven't posted this online. And you're like, no, man, I'm scared to hear. Like,
Yeah.
Find me.
dude's gonna find me. But didn't you were in a national park or close to one on your bike?
Oh, yeah,
you went up there.
dude.
Didn't you have
I
trouble with a ranger?
I
there?
got kicked out of. Didn't get kicked out of. I got scolded at Lake Tahoe because I had an electric bike.
Is that a
and-
national park, or is that just
No, it's
No.
That's just a lake. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't think so.
And a guy like pulled me over and was like, "Hey, does that bike have a motor in it?" And I was like, "No, it's got like pedals and stuff." And I was pedaling with it. It's assisted pedal.
Yeah.
He was like, "You can't have that on the bike path." He's like, "You got to drive that in the road." And I'm like, "But it's like I can pedal it." He's like, "But it's got a motor in it." I'm like, "But it's like assisted," trying to play it off.
Yeah.
He's
it's
like,
not like
"No,
I'm doing 40 miles an hour down there.
you got to ride it in the road." And so, seriously, not even like 2 weeks later, they released a thing saying that like e-bikes were now welcome on like bike
that
paths and
sucks.
stuff.
It's
But-
because of you, man.
Yeah.
That guy
I was
went,
mad. I was
that
like-
guy went back. He felt bad. He's like, all right, we got to change this law. This sucks.
But yeah, nothing this serious is.
Was that a ranger, like a park ranger, or just
Yeah,
a
it was
police
Yeah, it
officer?
might be like a national, recreational area. I know it's not a park,
Okay.
but there's a lot of like Little River Canyon's a national recreational site. Like you can't fly a drone there,
Oh, okay.
or you're not supposed to. I've done it before, but I didn't know how strict they were there. But and there's a like national landmark, so there's like a lot of location, but a national park, there's only like
that makes
60
sense,
or
man.
something. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think when we went to Zion, I remembered that story that you told, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna risk even taking. I don't even think we took it. Like I just left it home.
Yeah.
No, we did take it because we used it in Arizona.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
So we did the same thing where Alex and Katie were in the van in front of me or behind
yeah, we
me.
posted that on
We were on
Instagram.
public land though.
It was
I do
public
remember
land.
seeing
Okay.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
And so yeah, he got drone footage of us like driving through just like open desert. It
Yeah.
was really cool. We never did anything with that footage.
I posted it on Instagram. That's about it.
Oh.
But yeah, I didn't have enough footage from the rest of the trip to make any like video or do anything. But I
Yeah,
do remember posting that. It was really fun.
Yeah, we actually like in Iceland. I mean, they'll have like around certain locations it says no drones, but out there, like it's just like I said, it's just so wild, open, and free. Like you might not see somebody for like a couple hours if you're out in the middle of nowhere.
And you just stumble upon like wild horses just
Yeah.
hanging out.
What about geysers?
Well,
and
those
stuff?
are actually in the fence, but they look.
Oh,
wild.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it looked wild.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you can get to certain locations, I'm sure, and there's wild horses up there, but those were definitely, like.
I
we-
thought,
we-
man, you just
we-
pulled off the side of the road. I'm like, dude, he's in a fairy tale.
This land is just so free.
Because
There's a rainbow in the
the
background.
objective was like snow-capped mountains in the background and horses in the front. So
Yeah.
we're just driving along these mountains and we see this farm. We're like, maybe they have horses, and they did. So we just pulled over there and stopped.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I wish you many more adventures in the
Yeah,
future.
For sure.
And Ebenezer.
Ebenezer.
I've been saying it wrong. Ebenezer.
Yeah, I guess that's
The
how you say
Nebuchadnezzar.
Ebenezer. I don't know. It's from the Bible because
Well,
it's an old church fan.
Well, Ebenezer, and then I've heard Nebuchadnezzar. So that's like maybe I'm confusing
Yeah.
the two or something. But
Yeah.
van looks rad, man. And
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
I
I
think
still
you'll
got
have-
a few things left to do. I need to, I want to get a roof rack built and figure out a curtain situation. There's just little things inside that I got to finish. Like, I need a specific cut of a little piece of wood to go cover this gap, or the gap up here or something like that. But
It's
You're a
never
perfectionist, man.
No,
You'll
like,
never
it's
be
never
done.
finished.
Yeah.
like I thought I was pretty much done with it, and then I went on a trip. I'm like, okay, this doesn't work out here, but I heard of this dude like that went on a trip, and he was like, he got back and he's like, I'm completely redoing it, just because he said like nothing will work out.
Well, that's pretty picturesque. This is a photo from the van.
That's in
Yeah.
Alabama right there. That's in Talladega National Forest.
That's
So is
pretty
that.
cool.
So what is this Instagram page here? It's
This is just for I was posting progress photos at first, and then just, once I took it on a trip, I just started posting, photos of that trip. This is just Adventures of Eben. I did have it.
Oh, okay.
Adventures
So I
of
see
Ebenezer.
where it had the church thing written on the side.
Yeah.
Where did you find this van?
So it was on Craigslist. There was a lady selling it.
How every great story starts.
Yes.
With Craigslist.
It was on Craigslist. Very cheap. It's a 91 model, and when I bought it, it had like under 64,000, so it was like 63 and some change. And
Pretty reliable
Yeah.
vehicle, I guess.
yeah, I had to get some transmission work done. But when I took it to the transmission shop, the guy was like, "Yeah, these late 80, early 90 model Ford vehicles, like you can find like a Ford, Focus or something like, I don't even know if they made them then or whatever, but he's like, you can find one of these the same year." And he's like, the rubber in the transmissions, or just the rubber in the motor in general, is like, it's all crappy rubber. So like when I was driving it, the rubber expanded in the transmission and it started leaking out fluid, like when I got home, thankfully, because like what was happening was the throttle was stuck. So I would have on the brake and it would still be trying to go, and then when I let off, it would barely go. It wouldn't like take off.
I was about to say, that's pretty bad.
You can't really take off in that thing, but it would definitely start going. And then when I got home, like I had the brake on, and next thing I know, it just starts smoking. So I pull it up.
Just all
and, yeah.
Oil cooking. Yeah.
So, but the guy at the transmission shop said, he's like, well, the rubber probably, cooled off and formed it back to how it needs to be.
Resealed it.
So he's like, you should be able to drive to my shop, which it was just in, from like almost Pleasant Grove to Hueytown, so it wasn't very far. And he got it fixed up for me. He actually fixed some other things in there. He said, where that rubber was. So it's just good to have that in the back of my mind. If I'm traveling across country, I'm like, okay, well, the transmission should be good. He checked it out.
yeah, man.
But yeah, I found this lady on Craigslist. I went and checked it out, and I was like, I definitely want it. She said some guy like the day before looked at it, but he was going to use it to tow something, and I think the tow capacity wasn't as high as he needed it, so he passed on it.
How long have you had the van now?
In November it'll be 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just working on it here and there. Like the past year I haven't really gotten out there and done much to it. But at first, when there was a lot to do, I was just like every day out there, like every off day between work, just out there 6 or 7 hours working on it, doing what I could.
Well, it looks awesome, man.
I appreciate
it.
It.
Looks really cool. So
I'm ready to put it to good use.
Yeah.
That's the next
Get out there and
step.
explore. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks a lot for coming to hang out. We never know how to end these episodes. We were joking about that earlier, so we'll just kind of end it unless there's anything else you want to add.
I was gonna say for our audio listeners, do you want to shout out any of your social medias?
Yeah, just
check out all these awesome pictures we've been talking about.
my Instagram is just this is Justin Self, and then my van page is Adventures of Eben, EBEN.
Okay. I was saying Adventures of Ben the whole time.
Yeah, it looks
Ove
like that's
Ben.
what it says. So it's all like
I was like, his van's name is Ben, and Zach was like, no, it's
yeah, that's just like a
Ebenezer.
short, yeah, like
Yeah.
just a shorter version, because like when people are trying to search something, or you're trying to tell somebody what it is,
Right.
like the title is like you want to keep it short and sweet.
That is true. But we'll have links to all your stuff in the
Okay, cool,
description. If you're on Spotify or Apple, all those links are in the description.
Cool.
Dude, I'm gonna get on board on one of your trips because this looks awesome.
Yeah, man.
So-
Like I remember years ago, like I don't know where we were eating somewhere, and I think you rode back to Pleasant Grove with me, and like the whole time we're just talking about like
yeah, it seems like every time I get together with you, I'm like,
it's
dude,
it's just nonstop, man.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to not wait so long next time and do something in between.